Wake up, tomorrow has arrived. Misadventure 193, originally coming out on July 7th, has arrived. Also has finally arrived on my channel, a little bit late, but here we are. Take a deep breath, because we are diving into another Misadventure. Last time we shared some of the legendary sets coming thanks to Vostokar. Sets are some of the most involved item work, and the expansion will ship 17 of them. At least, I guess. Before we jump into today's update, you should definitely read up on the state of the expansion's development. Yeah, I think I did mention this on stream at some point, or like I did go over that one on stream at one point. They basically said that they're not quite yet ready yet, and they don't know if we're gonna like finish the expansion this year or next year. Well, now we know it's gonna be like early next year, but more on that later. We go over the facts and give some statistics that you might find enticing. There we go. Now let us talk about epics and finally waking up the true potential. Potential, yeah. Mythical tainted swamp grips, for example. Just like many other like epic items, mythical epic items, you will now be able to awaken the mythical tainted swamp grips. You probably won't be able to awaken all of them, as each legendary awakened epic item has to be done by hand by crate. So I'm fairly certain we're not gonna have a awakened item for every single like epic item, but plenty, definitely plenty. So awakened tainted swamp grips gives you additional flat chaos damage. The frostburn damage being lower here is probably just like due to like min-max rolls. Like this is maybe like a max roll, and this is like an average roll, and like 70-ish numbers here, like low rolls maybe. It does get conversion on top, so you have fire to chaos conversion. You do have a significantly higher DA number. Maybe this one is not due to just like min-max rolling, but actually just a higher value as well. Casting attack speed. This might be the same like base value and then like just higher rolls. But it could also be like being like 1 or 2% higher by default. And then a slight boost to the bleed resistance as well. On top of that, you have the same skill, like plus skill bonuses here, but you do get, of course, like all legendary gloves at least, and you do get skill modifiers on top. And now you get, in this case, onslaught charges to onslaught. Onslaught charges are a mechanic where you build up charges that you can then expend with another skill that has a cooldown to boost the cooldowns, like the skill with the cooldown by, I think, was it 10 or 15% per onslaught stack? And by default, the onslaught skill is a default attack modifier that can generate like onslaught charges by just default attacking. However, it has a max, and this will get you +2. Actually, if it was more charges on top, I think it would say like maximum onslaught charges, but since it says like +2 onslaught charges, I think it means that you're generating 3 per attack instead of 1 per attack. Which is honestly, I think personally better from my experience, because most of the time, at least if you're using a cooldown skill in between, like for example Frozen Sky Shard, or like Shadow Strike, which don't necessarily have the highest cooldown anyway, then you rather have the struggle that you don't ever get to max onslaught charges between cooldown uses. So that's like rather limited by the generation of onslaught charges and not by the maximum of onslaught charges. For like higher cooldown skills, of course, it can be the other way around. But I think for skills like Frozen Sky Shard or Shadow Strike, getting more charges per attack is better than getting more maximum charges. And also getting +1 charge to Shadow Strike means you can also like chain those Shadow Strikes more often. Yeah, which again gives you like rather less than more time to use Onslaught in between, which means generating more per attack is great here. Anyway, and then also weapon damage to Frozen Sky Shard means that you're more enticed to play something like a hybrid. Could be good for, well, what is it gonna be, like a Berserker Arcana Strike, where you are using attacks, like weapon attacks in between, and then you can still cast spells which do take at least part of your weapon damage into their skills, so you're not getting punished overly for trying to build some like hybrid melee caster archetype, but you can actually like use both melee and caster abilities. Pretty cool. We previously hinted at this system in 184, that's a long time ago, holy moly, but we're scant on the details. We did mention though, that the process is very straightforward. Awakening epic items and unlocking their legendary potential will require Ashes of Awakening. So this is like a new resource, right? Just like Tainted Hearts and so on, but a bit more rare. And you can put then the epic item and that Ashes of Awakening into, I think it was the Inventor, or maybe it was the Ascension Altar. I think either of the two. Oh yeah, I mean, it says here, right, the Altar of Ascension is where you put the items, and then it will create a new legendary item out of your awakened epic item. Ashes of Awakening are primarily acquired in Descendant mode, so it is not a walk in the park to find these in bulk. You can use the Ascension Altar to activate mechanics such as Resplendent Throws, okay. Pardon my English. And Marked by the Void on any difficulty and have a chance of finding some. In that, all of the new features tie together and support each other. Okay, hold on. You can activate the Ascension Altar for Resplendent Throws and Marked by the Void, which are basically more like ambush chests from the leagues, but instead of spawning ghosts, they spawn Chthonians, right? And then those will drop the Ashes of Awakening, but where you use those Ashes of Awakening, that might actually still be at the Inventor, right? I might not recall this correctly, but I think you do use these at the Inventor, where you can also use them for affix reroll, right? So you can like reroll affixes of green items too in the next expansion, but we have already seen that in a past Misadventure. Mythical Ring of Eternal Rot. And also usually whenever an item can be upgraded, it will say so in brackets here, right? Can be upgraded by Ashes of Awakening. I think this one is just like an old screenshot. They forgot to update this one, but this one should look the same as this. Like this seems like a very old screenshot. I don't know what Zenta is posting here. But yeah, this is how it should look like with this icon and then also this text below. And then here we have the Awakened Ring of Eternal Rot, which honestly, in this case, it's just a ring, so like rings can't have skill modifiers usually. And we don't know the stats of the poison over here. We know that it does 18% resistance reduction here, and maybe this is a higher value than here, I don't know, can't really tell. Also it has like higher Chaos Rush, more HP, just like generally more stats and like some more skill bonuses here to Drain Essence and Ignition as well, which is a Rune of Color Store skill, but for acid and vitality, interesting. Anyway, yeah, not quite as exciting as the gloves because they don't have skill modifiers, but still cool, right? You can still make your item stronger. And then here we have the Mythical Shard of Menhir, which you can awaken to the Awakened Shard of Menhir, which does have Vindictive Flame and Eye of Reckoning skill modifiers, but it does lose its Aether Ward grounded skill apparently. But usually skill modifiers are just way better anyway. So this is a physical Vindictive Flame, Eye of Reckoning. Well, maybe Shebreaker, maybe you played with Shaman, maybe you played with Soldier. There are some other skill bonuses here. You're also getting +1 to Shaman, which you don't have here yet. So yeah, this actually changes quite a bit. Has like a lot more HP, gets light into physical conversion for that Soul Fire from Eye of Reckoning, right, to convert that to physical as well. So yeah, a physical shield, no, amulet actually. A physical amulet for Eye of Reckoning. Interesting, interesting. Maybe a alternative to Warborn set, right? Usually you play physical Eye of Reckoning with the Warborn set. I mean, either you add this on top to Warborn set, or you could also play like a different build with just this Shard of Menhir. And then maybe there's like a better setup where you play some like, well, more custom style greens and legendaries and blues and not a set for our Reckoning. This does definitely like open up more options. I mean, first of all, it definitely opens up two-handed physical Our Reckoning because right now Warborn has a gavel, like a one-handed mace, so that does not allow for two-handed gameplay. The purpose of the Awakening system is to, over time, take the hundreds of epic quality items the game has that have largely fallen out of favor in the endgame and give them a second lease on life. Why have all this wonderful art and itemization if they serve no practical purpose? Exactly. With the release of Knights of Aztlan, we plan to transform many of our existing epics into legendaries, and we intend to continue doing so with subsequent updates. Whether we eventually cover every epic in the game remains to be seen, but you can see the potential for years to come. Yes, yes. So there's some more examples here, like Eastern Gloves getting, well, who would have thought, modifiers to Chosen Sky Shard. But not only that, also Winds of Astakarn, which is a Berserker AoE caster ability. Also the non-awakened will get bonuses to that skill, and the awakened one will have the same bonuses to that skill, and also get here some skill modifiers as well. Which makes you want to play maybe a certain archetype, right? You channel Wings of Astakarn to AoE clear and to generate onslaught stacks, and then you like for big burst you use Chosen Sky Shard empowered by those onslaught stacks. Pretty cool. Awakened Eastern Robes, I mean, yeah, this is gonna be like one of those more boring items again, because, well, if they start like upgrading awakening one of these items from the set, they would have to do all the pieces from that set. And that set does not only have like items that have skill, like that potentially can have skill modifiers, but also chests and pants, I think. So those aren't gonna have any skill modifiers. So they're just going for the same stats, but higher in this case, which isn't overly exciting, but yeah, I mean, you gotta kind of do it because you are awakening the full set, aren't you? And then here, the full set, as you can see, also gets skill modifiers. The Awakened Eastern Oath set gets Leech for Winds of Astakarn, and also a chance on attack to reduce the cooldown of Chosen Sky Shard. So yeah, not only do you generate your stacks, your onslaught stacks with the Winds of Astakarn, but you're also reducing the Chosen Sky Shard cooldown, making sure that pretty much whenever you have those onslaught stacks, you can instantly drop down the skies on your enemies and yeah, burst them down. And maybe the skill modifier, I mean, maybe this proc rather, the skill proc Sky Fragment also got buffed. We don't see any numbers here, so hard to tell. But how does one take the ashes and harness this power? The knowledge is not known to man, but should you befriend the right allies in the battles ahead, your trust may be rewarded with access to their unusual reliquaries. Then it is a mere matter of gathering the right materials for the job, and the awakened epics will be yours. This seems like a smith icon, so this is a arcane entity acting as a smith for you, who knows? Alright, I'll see you around on the next Misadventure. Hope you like this one.